Hello and welcome back to the She Lives Purposely podcast. I am so thankful that you're here. I am so excited for today's conversation. Jewell and I, who is on the podcast with me today. Hi, Jewell.
Hello.
She is a sweet friend of mine. I have mentioned her, I'm sure, before because we have a little trio with her and Carly, who's been on the podcast before too, talking about just being like Christian business women, and we get together, or we used to more. I feel like both of our lives have just like all of our lives really have totally like flipped around in so many different ways. But oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought so hard. Oh, so I've mentioned Jewell before on the podcast for sure, and she's joining me today. Yay. And we have been chatting before hitting recording, and I was like, you know what? We just need to stop and we need to hit record.
Yes.
Because it's just so fun.
It's too good.
It's too good. And I wanted to let you guys in on the conversation too. Today we're talking about like being new mamas. Jewell also just had her precious baby boy as well, who's going to be one of little Donnie's BFFs.
Yes. Built-in friends for sure. And now we have an excuse to hang out for the rest of our lives.
So cute. I love it. And yeah, he was born like 2-3 months before.
Yeah, he was born in May.
Yeah. So I feel like it's just been such a big journey. And Jewell was texting me and we were like, you know what? Why don't we talk about being new moms and boy moms and just all these kind of things?
Yeah.
But before we started, we were talking about, so the election day is tomorrow.
Yes.
We were talking about how I feel like it's Christmas Eve.
And I am the Grinch. I don't like it. I cannot wait for it to be over.
Yeah. It's just so funny. I feel like though I have not gotten a single election text. I don't know about you.
Really?
I know my mom was saying she gets literally 15 a day.
My phone blows up every day.
I have not gotten a single one.
Interesting.
I know. I was like, and I'm like registered, you know what I mean? Like as a voter and on a party, like.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Not a single one.
So crazy. Yeah. We've had people come to our door, which is also terrifying. Like I'm like, I feel like I have stranger danger ingrained in me. So it's like, as a full grown adult, somebody comes to the door and I'm like hiding.
Yeah, we put up a no soliciting sign in our front yard and people read the no soliciting sign and then knock on our door. And I'm like, okay, it's fine.
They said, no.
At least we tried.
Yeah. At least they know what to expect.
Yes.
Like you're not going to entertain it.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
But crazy how like you haven't gotten a single text. I get like 10, 15 texts a day. And I'm like, this is just, I'm ready for it to be done.
That's way understandable. Mm-hmm. I feel like if I had been getting that many texts, I'd be so over it.
Yeah. Ready to just throw my phone away at this point.
Yeah. Oh,
but be done.
I do love it though. Like I'm so excited. I was just telling Donnie how in elections past, I have literally had like the map out with like the electoral votes of like how many states. No, like I get so into it. I feel like such a political junkie or like nerd or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
if you have the map out, I think that's definitely the level of political nerd.
Yeah. I feel like I don't know if it's healthy, but like I think it's fine because it's not like I'm too obsessed all year round. It's just like it's the time is tis the season.
Tis the season
to be obsessed. Yes. All right. First of all, how are you? How is baby boy?
So good. Teddy's my son.
I didn't know if you wanted me to say his name, so I just kept saying
fine.
Baby boy.
No, that's fine. Teddy is adorable. He's so cute.
He's so
such
cute.
Like a happy baby. So we're just like soaking it all up. Like, all the cuddles, all the fun. He's really into crinkle books right now. You know, those like little baby books that like, they sound like foil. Not foil, but like plastic is inside or like a water bottle or something.
Totally.
He loves those. They're like his favorite thing right now. So sitting up by himself. He started solids a couple weeks ago, which is so stressful for me.
Yeah.
But like he's just learning and growing, and it's so much fun to watch, honestly. It's tiring, but it's so much fun to watch him like learn and explore and then be like, oh, he's too big for that now. We need to start switching to something older. And I'm like, no.
Crazy. So crazy.
So we're obsessed with him.
Yeah. He is so precious. Such a cutie.
He's our little miracle kid.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Would you want to share a little bit about your story?
Oh, sure.
If not, we can edit that question out, but
no, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, that would be so awesome.
I mean, I guess we'll do Reader's Digest.
It sounds
version.
good.
Because it's like 5 years. But my husband and I had struggled to get pregnant for like 5 years. And it wasn't necessarily that we were constantly trying that whole 5 years, but we had, I had like a couple of medical things come up, and I was like, this might be contributing to why we can't have a baby, can't get pregnant, like not really sure what's happening here. We went to like 3 different doctors, like, you know, specialty fertility clinic people. They couldn't figure out what was going on. So we were like, well, all right, then I guess this is just not for us right now. We're going to like trust the Lord. And, you know, if we can't have a baby right now, then that's fine. We'll just do our thing. So we kind of structured our life around not having a baby. We bought like a smaller house just for the 2 of us, and our pets. And my husband went into a doctoral program, which is like very intense, like a very power-packed 3 years.
You also like own and run multiple businesses.
That too.
Casual.
No big deal.
Yeah.
I have a wedding company. We have the finance company. So I was like, you know, that's fine. If we don't have a baby right now, that's totally fine. And then we went to go to like a surprise birthday dinner for my mom. And I was like, oh, you know, I'm feeling kind of weird. Like, let me just like make sure everything's fine. Boom, positive pregnancy test. And I was like, this has got to be a joke.
Like the second we stopped and we're just like, okay, we're at peace with this. Like, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it took a couple days where I was like, this can't be real, because we've had positive tests before. We had quite a few miscarriages. And so I was like, I was not excited at first, because I was like, this is strange to me now. And, you know, it definitely wasn't an Instagrammable moment, because at the same time, our house was flooding. Our basement was flooding because we had like so much rain that week.
Oh my gosh. And then you get this news. Yeah.
And so we were kind of like, you know what? One crisis at a time.
Yeah.
Basement flooding first.
Yeah. Right.
And then we'll think about the baby.
Right. Oh my gosh.
But it was like quite literally just God, how we were able to have Teddy. We had such like a smooth pregnancy for the most part, smooth delivery.
And he's such a happy baby. Like,
he's so happy.
You guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So we call him our miracle boy, because he really is. He's just like all around, no matter how we look at the situation, it was just totally Jesus.
Yeah. So crazy. And I remember too, around that time you had, you know, you were feeling like with the wedding business in particular, like it was just growing so much. It was too much for just you to be like basically in charge of.
Yeah.
You were like, okay, like I am going to bring on my sister. And so you guys like partner in this now. But the same time that you brought her on, like without knowing, was around the time I think that you had gotten pregnant.
It was 2 months difference.
So crazy.
So she became the partner in July, and I found out I was pregnant in September.
So
like,
crazy.
Craziness.
So it just, I feel like I remember you telling us that you were pregnant, and I remember like aligning that up in my brain and being like, oh my gosh, like that was just so Jesus. Where it's just like, okay, let me bring this person in to help you in these areas, because like you're gonna have a baby.
Yes. And she did the entire wedding season, like the entire spring wedding season, while I was on maternity leave earlier this year, which was just like a feat in and of itself.
Yeah.
There were quite a few, quite a few weddings she had to deal with, but it was just so the Lord how it all worked out. So I love telling that
Praise
story.
the Lord. Yeah, no, thank you for sharing it. It's such a cool story just to see, like, I don't know, the Lord's timing and what he can do. And it's just so beautiful. And I'm so happy for you guys. And now we have best friend boys, like boy best friends.
Yeah. What? Well,
they're best friends.
They
don't really know it yet,
but they will be. They'll know.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we started recording, we wanted to talk about like boy momness. And, you know, like I feel like from a certain perspective because being a boy mom is so awesome, so sweet. I'm so excited for just what that's going to look like over the years, all of it. But you got some negative reactions about being a boy mom. And so I'm going to talk about like raising boys, basically. Yeah. And, you know, not that this comes from an expert perspective, because
like we're very new at this.
Yeah, like
very new.
Like Donnie's literally 3 months old, but like just looking into that era. And I just would love to talk about like how people basically were negative about it and what that looked like. And
it was really weird. And I don't know if they necessarily did it on purpose,
right?
But like they, you know, I told a couple people that we were pregnant, and we waited a long time into this pregnancy to like tell anybody. Like I was like 6 months pregnant before we told anyone at church or our families basically. And so I told a few of my friends later on, and they were like, "Oh, are you having a boy or a girl?" And I was like, "Oh, it's a boy." And they were like, "Oh, what do you mean? Oh,
Yeah, that's so
like,
crazy.
It was so off-putting, and I was like, I tried to ignore it, and then I ended up like following back up and being like, "Hey, like, what did you?"
Good for you.
Well, it was kind of like in the same conversation, so don't give me too many accolades,
but still,
like,
still.
I was like, "What do you mean?" And she was like, "Oh, well, you're gonna be like a boy mom. Isn't that weird?" And I was like, I thought I was just gonna be a mom. Like, I didn't know that being a girl mom versus a boy mom had this like negative connotation to it. And so it like really, really stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I feel like I talked to my husband about it, and I was like, "Why do you think that was?" Now, for context, I don't think this person was walking with the Lord at all. And so there's kind of like definitely this worldly element of like, you know, we don't need men. We don't like men.
Yeah.
Men play no part in our society, or, you know, women can do everything without them, right? Like kind of this not so great association with men in general. And I think that's what she was speaking out of. Like, I think that's the context that she was like, "Oh, you're going to be a boy mom."
Wow.
Which is like so weird. You know, like I feel like that's almost just as weird as the weird boy moms.
Right.
You
On
know?
the flip side, who are like too obsessed like with being a boy mom.
Yes.
Because I do think like I feel like it could be so fun where, you know, of course, like it would be so great if we also have a girl in the future, or like if we have all boys, like that's great too. Like but I think it can be so fun to be like, okay, like I'm going to have a boy and what that's going to look like. And, you know, maybe they're more like playful and active, and like raising them in a certain way that's going to be different than the way that maybe you like, you know, just raising up children and different things that are specific to them. But then, yes, there is the boy mom that's like, no one will ever be good enough for my baby boy. And you're like, I'm going to like die when they get married, or different things.
Right.
And,
you're like, cringe.
You know, just is like,
cringe.
like, okay, like they're going to like grow up and get married. And like,
yes.
you know,
that's not something you can stop from happening.
Yeah. And we were in this, I think this is where I heard it. There's this like mom group that we both went to. It was my first time going. And I think this is where I heard it, but it was basically like we were talking about how our role as moms in general, boy or girl moms, is raising up children like to go out into the world.
Right.
Like it's not to stay with us forever. And so that's such an important, I think, mindset and biblical mindset where it's like, okay, I'm pouring into this kid to raise them up to go out.
Right, because eventually they'll have to function in society, be good parts of society, be examples for Christ in society.
Yeah.
And like, how are they going to do that if all you're doing is holding them back or, you know, not correcting behavior, right? There's like so many aspects of mothering and motherhood that I feel like can affect a kid that way.
Right.
But yeah, we're supposed to be actively sending them out or preparing them to be sent out as opposed to like, you're gonna be in my house with me forever.
Right.
no one will ever be good enough for you.
Yeah.
You know? I feel like that like puts our kids on a pedestal, almost like an idol in that sense.
So good.
You know, and it's kind of like, oh, we can't do that.
Yeah.
we cannot do that.
Yeah. And I think it's totally sweet to, you know, be like so obsessed with your kid, and you're just like, this is your baby that you're raising up, and like this is literally a part of you. Like it's your DNA and your spouse's DNA like together, and that's
that
so
you incubated
insane.
For 9 months.
Yeah, like there is going to be an attachment that I think is different than an attachment that you have to other people for sure. However, I think it's true where it's like, okay, like my role is not to just, and there's different stages for different things. When they're a baby, obviously you're not raising them up to leave. Like you're like taking care of them and like all these different things. It's a very different season. But like eventually, like our role is to raise them up to be independent. And like you said, to be followers of Christ in the world, like in this outer space.
Yeah.
Not
outer space.
not like,
to the moon and beyond.
Yeah. Like outward, outside of the home space.
Yes.
But also like going back to this conversation you had, I feel like I had yet to encounter the flip side of that, where it was a negative thing.
Yeah.
To have a boy. That's so wild.
Yeah. And I feel like it really did come from that place of like men are the worst. And like now you're almost like stuck raising one, you know?
Wow.
And I was like, this is so not right.
That's so heartbreaking. But I feel like also super understandable in the way that society has been pushing that like men are just the worst.
Yeah.
You know, like all men like are
like
just
I almost
trash.
wasn't surprised.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, first of all, that's a baby. That's not a grown man with bad behavior.
Right.
This is a literal baby who does not know how to take care of themselves. Like, you know, and I think eventually, like, she was very happy that we were having a baby in general, you know, but it was just like that initial, like, oh, a boy, you're going to be a boy mom.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Yeah. I feel like, it is understandable in the sense of like society basically is telling you to think that way, but it's wrong and heartbreaking that that's the mindset.
Right.
Because it's like we do need men, and like we need men that are raised well. Like, you know, like boys that are growing up like under a mom that loves the Lord, under a dad that loves the Lord and is like raised rightly, and that is going to be a man that is after the heart of God.
Yes,
and like
just as much as you would raise a daughter the same way. Like it's not just a boy thing.
It's not like we need more men than like women or vice versa.
Right. Yeah, no, like we just need children who are raised that way.
Yeah.
You know, boy or girl, because both of them affect society. Both of them affect that dynamic.
Yeah.
And so for it to be, I guess not for it to be, but for someone to assume that the problem is just with men and not with, you know, women or girls too is like pretty incorrect.
Right. No, I love that. Yeah, because it's like it really is singling them out.
Yes. Unfairly.
Unfairly. And it is just heartbreaking, like thinking about raising Donnie. And just like him already like coming into it like, like men are the worst. And it's like, no, I don't want you to feel like that. And I want to raise you in a way that like you are like making a positive and like eternal impact in the world that is good, you know, just like I would do that with a daughter. But it is kind of heartbreaking to think that like he might feel that from other people where it's like, like another guy.
Yeah. Another boy in the class.
Yeah.
Or, you know, another guy trying to do this. And it's like, you know, I don't think that's the right mentality, obviously. But also, how is a kid supposed to process that type of bias or that type of negative thinking around them when they have no idea what's going on? You know what I mean? Like,
child.
Yes, they're literal children. So like, you know, how are they supposed to understand what that dynamic implies or means? Or, you know, when the adults in the room are talking about something and they hear, well, boys are just the worst. Like, how is a little boy supposed to process something like that?
And then too, it's like you as a child, as an adult, like if you hear something like that, you will internalize that. And then maybe that does shape how you begin to think about boys or yourself. Like it is going to impact the way that you think about things, you know, and then you're already putting that on them to then turn out and be like, well, yeah, I'm the worst.
Right. Exactly. But does that mean on the flip side of the coin that we just praise everything they do and make them feel like they're always perfect? Definitely not. Right. Like they still need to be raised and taught and corrected like any kid would have to be. Which is where I think that like creepy boy mom trend that I've seen, like I'm a Redditor. It's pretty bad.
Are you?
I am. I'm all up in the Reddit threads. It's where I get all of my drama.
I'm dead. That's so funny.
And so a lot of these like new parent threads or like the mom it thread, they talk about how they're like, how do I teach my boy, like, you know, like my son to not be like the worst? Like, maybe you just don't act like he's the worst.
Yeah.
You know,
just,
like
raise him like.
Right.
Yeah.
Or then I'm also, because I have a wedding business, I'm also in the Weddit. Well, there is one that is Weddit.
That makes sense. That makes sense to me, yeah.
The like Reddit wedding threads as well. And you have all of these toxic mother-in-laws that all of these brides are trying to deal with.
Yeah.
Of like, you know, their mother-in-laws are like, my son is too good for you. You should never marry him because I deserve better for my life, which means my son needs to stay with me forever. You can't be a part of this family. Right? Like,
if you're not watching on YouTube, my jaws drop. Oh my gosh.
Like, it's so odd and so strange that, you know, you put your kid on a pedestal that much. And again, this can happen with a son or a daughter.
100%.
You know, and we see it in reality TV all the time.
Yeah.
But like, you put your kid on a pedestal where they do no wrong and, you know, they can never mess up or never make a mistake, and they are just the absolute pride and joy of your life, to like way too far. And then you end up with, maybe the kid turns out normal, but then you're like the obsessive mom.
Yeah.
You know? And it's just, I feel like that's just so not biblical.
No, 100%. And I feel like that brings me to, we also had talked about before, like how as moms, like this becomes a huge part, if not like in this season, the biggest part of our purpose is raising these kids. Right now, our boys, but like, you know, who knows what the future holds.
Yeah.
And so just talking about that, like, I think it just is literally our God-given calling in this moment and in this time to raise them. So, you know, they're not thinking they're the worst, but also not to raise them without any discipline, just thinking they're the absolute best also, where it's like, and again, I'm not talking about at this stage where they're literally 3 months old, you're not disciplining, like, but it comes to this point where, you know what, it's like, okay, I'm going to raise them in the things of the Lord. And I wrote down here, which verse is it? Proverbs 22:6, where it talks about raising them in the way of the Lord, and they won't turn from that way. And, you know, Proverbs is like a book of wisdom. It's not necessarily like all promises of God, where you can raise your child in the way of the Lord and they can turn away from the things of God. But those things are embedded in them. And like more often than not, I really feel like I see, like, even if they turn away from the things of God, a lot of times they come back because that's in them. Like you have raised them in a certain way. But all that to say, it is our calling and job right now to raise them in the things of God, also to discipline them. The Bible calls us to discipline our kids. We're not like their best friends right now.
Yes.
You know, that's something that can maybe like develop later, but like in this
your parent
stage,
first,
your parent
then
first,
you can be friends.
100%. Yeah. So that's a big thing too, where it's like, this is literally our God-given calling in this moment is to raise them in a way that the Lord would have us raise them, which I agree is neither they're the most perfect and they can do no wrong, because that's not true. And it's also not, and then too, like, if that's the mentality, then they don't need the gospel, you know, because it's like,
sin nature wouldn't even matter at that point. Or like, you know, like you said, the whole gospel then is like, oh, well, that if that works for you, then that works for you, because you're obviously the perfect kid.
Right.
But no kid is perfect.
Yeah. And then on the flip side, it's like, like having to raise boys or whatever. It's like, no, they're not like worse than like, you know, girls. Like it's just boys and girls. Like they're just kids.
They're kids.
And they're all, we're all sinners, you know,
and they're all going to be kids.
Yeah.
And kids do crazy things.
Yeah. How has that been for you? Like in this new season of just like, I don't know, like it's this whole new role of motherhood. How's it been transitioning in that way? Yeah.
I feel like it's been pretty smooth.
Yeah.
I think it's been harder since I went back to work. And like trying to get mom brain and work brain to function at the same time literally feels impossible some days. And so it's been good.
Yeah.
It's been good. I think I'm such a routine person. I really value routine. I really love routine because it just makes me feel like, okay, step 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm done, you know?
That's how I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Like, check it. Give me a checklist
and
of my routine.
My mom sent me this meme, and it was it was like God looked at all the type A women and gave them sons.
I feel like I saw that. Yeah.
And I was like, yup, that was me. Because I like that. I like routine. I like steps, and then I like being done. But with a baby, it is not that way. Step 1 turns into step 1A, 1B, 1C, and then you're like, oh wait, Z needs to happen first. And so, but I was with numbers and not letters. So now where did Z even come from? You know?
And step 2 is gone. It's not happening.
Yeah. And then the whole day passes. And you're like, I feel like I did nothing today. Like even before we had started recording, I was telling Meg that like there's 6 baskets of clean laundry, but unfolded laundry that my husband and I have just been pulling clothes out of, because 100%. That is where we're at right now.
No, just speaking to that, literally for the past couple of days, like Mackenzie, my sister, came over, did baby Donnie's laundry for me. So sweet. I have been pulling things out of the dryer. Like it's been in the dryer.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, this is what he's wearing. Yeah. Like, you're just like, and now, thankfully it's all folded away now. But like, there was a couple of days there where not even a basket, Jewel.
Just straight out.
It didn't even make it to the basket.
And you just like do what you have to do in the moment. And I think that is really where I feel, oh my goodness, feel the Lord stretching me, because it's like, all right, Lord, I just need what I need from you for this moment, as opposed to like, I feel like before in like just my devotions, in my prayer, it'd be like, all right, Lord, here's like the whole day before me. I want to pray over all of that right now. Here's the week. I want to like talk about these things for the week and like really, and now it's kind of like, I just need peace for the next 5 minutes. Yeah. I just need patience for the next 5 minutes. And I feel like that's really been the biggest lesson for me right now, is like, God will give us what we need in each season that we're in. Yeah. Because we had structured our lives kind of around not having kids. Yeah. Just because we thought we couldn't. It was such a long journey. All these doctors were telling us it was basically impossible. And so now we have one. He's very real. He's very much here with us, very much taking over our house in the best way. And now I need to like learn how to be a mom when I had already not made up my mind, but kind of like figured out how to not be a mom. Yeah. You know what I mean?
100%. I feel like that's been a big journey for me too, was recognizing like, and not just recognizing, but like working through in the day to day of like, okay, here's this checklist of things that I want to get done for me, for my business. Mm-hmm. And so often they are never getting met, because it's like, okay, here's this whole list of things, or even like you said, just 1A and 1B that I am doing for our baby instead. And that is consuming my day instead. Mm-hmm. And it is this big shift of like, okay, and this going into it, but it's like my whole life is different.
Yes.
And I was watching this interview. It just pops up on my Instagram reels by, and it was Rihanna. And she was,
nice.
I know. But it was like I think it's like all this mom content. It's on my reels. And the interviewer was asking her, like, do you feel like, she had a kid or multiple kids? I don't know. Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh, do you feel like you're back to yourself? And she was like, I don't think I'm ever going to get back to myself. Like, I can't even remember what that feels
Relatable.
Like. Yeah. And I was like, I appreciate her saying that, because I think I am in this active process of trying to figure out the perfect structure and system of like how I can succeed here, 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 and here. And it's like, you know what? My priority is to succeed like at home right now and raising my baby and being a wife, like, and everything else would be awesome. But like, if those things aren't getting done, that's okay.
That's okay.
And it's a new season. So I feel like I really get that. And two, with the Lord, like meeting just exactly what you need. I was just telling Donnie this morning, we were going to the chiropractor. And so basically, baby Donnie does not sleep at all. Like the first like 2 months, I feel like 2.5 months, he was waking up 3 to 5 times a night. Mm-hmm. And then there was maybe like a week where it was like 2 to 3, and it was like, oh my goodness, this is everything. And then he hit a 3-month sleep regression, which we've talked about, I think, on the podcast before. You guys, he was waking up 5 to 6 times a night, and I'm like, I can't function. And I remember just praying like, Lord, like give us sleep, or just like help me, give me strength for this night, and making it through those nights, but feeling like the Lord did not give me strength for that night. And then this past week, he has been waking up only 1 or 2 times a night, which is a game changer. Last night he woke up 6 times. So,
no big deal. It's fine.
It's a revolving door. We don't know what's happening. But it really hit me in those 1 to 2 times a night. I was barely functioning, like waking up just once a night. Yeah. And I was like, Lord, even though it didn't feel like it, you really sustained me those nights where I'm waking up 6 times, because I am feeling more exhausted, more tired, waking up once or twice than I was waking up 5 to 6 times. Right. Like it did not feel like it, but you really gave me the strength for exactly what I needed. Not more, not less, but like exactly what I needed.
What was needed.
And it's so crazy. Like, I didn't feel it in the moment, but looking back, I'm like, you really did. Like you were there, you met me. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. And such like almost just like a very life way. I feel like a lot of things get over spiritualized, and just by nature of it, of like, oh yes, the Lord can meet me. And we kind of feel like, oh, well, if I don't feel this like huge spiritual rush, the Lord didn't meet me, and definitely like those late night feedings and all the incessant diaper changes. Like there was one day where Teddy just was having blowout after blowout, and we were trying to go to church. We had errands to run. Like, I'm telling you, like 10 diapers in 30 minutes.
No.
I was like, what is going on?
You're lying. Stop.
2 different outfits. I was like, I can't do this right now. There's too much baby poop. I can't.
Yeah.
And I just remember saying that, like, could you imagine if, like, we just dropped it right here, and we were like, all right, that's it. All right, we gave you the clothes that you needed. You messed with those. We gave you the diapers. You know, you messed with those. We're stopping now.
Right.
And like how we call on the Lord so much to be like, Lord, help me. I don't know what's going on. You know, like I need a new change of clothes, you know, like, and looking at it from like parent to child, and then translating that from like God to us. Like, how many times do we look at our kids and we're like, what is going on right now? But I love you so much. You know,
I'll do this again and again and again.
Exactly. Yeah. And then like just translating that into like how much God must love us, even in those things where we're like, Lord, you didn't meet me. Like, you didn't help me. I didn't feel helped.
Yeah.
And then you look back and you're like,
you sustained me.
Yes. Yeah. Like, you are literally the only reason I was functioning.
So beautiful too. Cause I think so often I imagine that the Lord is like that parent that, you know, God forbid, is like, you know what, too many times, like, I'm not changing this one, you know, kind of thing. And I do imagine sometimes the Lord is like that with me, where it's like, all right, you know what, like, you've asked this too many times, Meg, like, I can't. But so beautiful to think like I would never do that to like baby Donnie. And it's like, of course the Lord would never do that to me. Like, he is always going to be there, which is so beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a really sweet picture of how unconditional love can be between anybody, but especially like as we're like experiencing this new mom trying to figure it out, you know, era that we're in.
Yeah.
Like the Lord so loves us, like, like just so much. Because, you know, you look at your kids and you're like, you could scream right in my face and I would still tell you how much I love you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like really sweet and really special, even when it's really hard, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like too, because you had said something earlier, that it's not always fun. And I feel like a lot of times we see, I don't know, maybe just like content, things on Instagram of like new moms just loving it from the start, and like having zero adjustment period. And they're like, this is the best thing I've ever done. I love my life. I love being a mom. I could do this 10 more times. And then you're like, you know, you're watching that reel and you're like, I haven't showered in 5 days. No. I haven't eaten today. I took 3 sips of water. The baby threw up on me, right? Like, you're watching her on your screen, enjoying her whole life with a newborn, and you're over here with a newborn the same age, and you're like, how do you look like that? How are you so happy right now? Like,
even worse when your baby is older and it's like they're just fresh out of the hospital and they're like, oh my goodness, like everything's so, and you're like, like, how are you functioning? I feel like it feels like every mom on social media. Do you know Ballerina Farms?
Yes.
So she just had, I think it's like her 7th kid, and
was it 7 or 8?
Maybe 8. Yeah, I don't know.
There's a lot of them.
But she had her kid, and then I think a week later she was like Miss America or Miss World or something like that.
Oh, I remember
now,
this.
No hate, like, queen. I'm obsessed. It's amazing. But I feel like every mom feels like they're doing that. And I'm like, how are you doing this?
Yeah.
So it can be so hard to look on social media and feel like everybody else is crushing it but you. I feel that's so hard.
Yeah. And like, of course we know that like comparison is the thief of joy. And it's just so hard to ignore all these like momfluencers that are out there that are like, oh yeah, we have it together.
Yeah.
My house is perfectly clean. I'm perfectly clean. The baby
I
is
shower 5 times a day.
Right. Yeah. You're like, what?
Yeah.
So I definitely feel like it was for me to like be able to understand where I was in this like new mom journey. I had to very deliberately tell myself that like, Teddy is healthy. He's okay. I'm okay. I might not have showered today, but like, this is what the Lord has given me to do right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that but it was like very intentional. Like I still, and even this morning, I was like, dude, I need you to stop whimpering in my face.
Yeah.
This is getting to be a little much. I really need you to stop. But still just being like, okay, this is where the Lord has me right now with my baby whimpering in my face. So what am I going to do about that?
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Just leave him to cry all by himself? No, we got to figure out a way to handle Teddy whimpering in my face.
Yeah. And like knowing like this is exactly where the Lord has me right now.
Yes.
But I feel like, to be honest, that's so encouraging to hear, because I feel like you are one of the moms that I compare myself to, and I'm like, Jewell has it all together. I'm like, how
Don't
does
do that.
No, the way I'm like, have you seen Jewell? She's literally has it all together. I don't know how she's doing it. Like, to everyone, I'm like I know. So it's just encouraging. I think one of those things where you see things. And it's not even like you post crazy things on social media. Like, just in person, like, knowing you, I'm like, she's got it all together. So
I'm glad it looks that way, but it definitely isn't.
It's like encouraging to know, like, you know what? You're doing the same thing, like, with other people. Yeah. And it's like, we're all in different ways, different journeys, but it's like, we're all needing to depend on the Lord every single day for different things, or for the same things.
Yeah, definitely. And even though like Teddy didn't have like colic or any reflux or anything like that, but he had just a different area of struggle where he would sleep perfectly at night, and then he would be up all day, like all day. Would refuse naps, and like, I'm not nocturnal, I can't do my job in the middle of the night while he's asleep, because I also need to sleep. But even then, like you're pumping, like even though the baby sleeps, mom doesn't sleep, and so like I was still getting up every 3 hours. Sometimes I still get up every 3 hours to like do what I have to do. And like I remember watching Teddy sleep on the monitor, and I'm awake, answering emails, scheduling them to go out the next morning so I look like a normal person.
Right. Instead of like 2 a.m. Like,
exactly. Hi. Yeah. It's me. Good morning. And just like, I remember looking at the monitor and being like, I'm glad he's asleep, but I need to go to sleep. Like, I just need to go to sleep. I'm staring at the laundry. Laundry is just a thing in our house. Robert and I both hate doing laundry. There's always laundry somewhere. And if you ever come over our house and don't see laundry, it's because we threw it in a room you're not going to be in. It's hiding. Yeah. But just like having that mentality of like, all right, this is just what we need to do right now. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be done. Yeah. As opposed to like, I feel like before having Teddy, I was very much like, no, if I'm going to do it, it's going to be right. And it's going to be right the first time. I'm going to take my time to do it. And now life is just not that way. Yeah. And like the Lord meets us in that, and, sustains us in that, even when it feels like we're not getting anything done.
No, I love that so much. And it reminds me too, which I think I brought up over text to you too. I think her name is Lindsey. I wrote it down actually. It's an influencer, Lindsey Gurk. And she created a company. I think it might be a nonprofit too. I don't know if I'm making that up. But it's called Get Your Pink Back. And the premise is that flamingos, I learned this, like I think Corinne, our friend Corinne, who's also been on the podcast, sent me this. Flamingos, in taking care of their young, lose their pink color because of how much like nutrition and like food and energy they're giving to their kids, like they're losing. And they get it back, like eventually they get it back. And her premise is like, eventually they get it back and so will you. Like as a mom, we can like lose our pink, like quote unquote, lose our color. And I feel like it can even be in something like that where it's like, I just like laundry's not getting done. This is not getting done. I haven't showered in 5 days, all those different things. But it's like, one, I think it's so cool to know that so many moms feel the same way and are going through the same like trenches in that form. Yeah. But also like, it's gonna be okay. Like it is okay in this moment. And there's a really cool beauty about finding joy at 2 a.m. like, when you're like super tired, or maybe it's after, maybe 2 a.m. it didn't happen, but like the next morning. But also that like, I think it's a cool representation even in God's creation, like in another animal, that like you can see the process in them. Right. And how it really took a toll on their bodies, but like how beneficial it is and how important it is. And that they got it back.
They get it back. Yeah. Because I feel like when you're really in the trenches, you're like, I'm never going to be the same. I might not ever be happy again. I love this kid so much, but like, how am I ever going to do anything?
I'm not functioning.
Yeah. And it's so cool. God does not miss a beat, that's for sure. But like, it's really cool that he uses that as kind of an example of like, look, you do get it back. It might just look a little different, but you do get it back.
Yes.
And I definitely feel that for me, where I'm like, all right, I'm starting to feel like, you know, I'm almost 6 months postpartum now. And like, I'm starting to feel like I'm functioning again, you know, like I'm getting good stretches of sleep. My house is cleaner, not totally clean, but cleaner. You know, like these little things that are getting crossed off of my list. And I'm like, okay, I'm feeling better. I don't feel the same, but I'm feeling better, you know? And like, it's just, the Lord is so faithful to like take care of us in those things. You know what I mean? It's just really cool.
100%. No, I think it's such an important reminder. And too, like if you're listening and you feel like you are in that season where, you know, your pink is gone or like really faded, like the Lord will sustain you even when it feels like he's not. Like my 6 to 7 night wakes a night, or 6 to 7 wakes a night. But like looking back, he does, and he did. And yeah, it's so beautiful. Also, I really want a sweatshirt from this shop. Not in the budget this month, but I'm coming for you. Yeah. So. I'm going to get that sweatshirt.
Yeah. And I feel like also too, just to like pop this in here, I don't think only motherhood is the thing that can take somebody's pink as well.
1,000%. I was talking to somebody about this too.
Yeah. I feel like there's so many different situations that someone could lose their pink, so to speak. And like, I went through like this whole infertility journey. I feel like that was kind of like a different type of pink, so to speak. And like, there's just so many life situations where like what you just said will apply, of like the Lord sustains us in those things and he carries us through until our pink comes back, whether that's motherhood or whether that's, you know, something totally different. It like, you know, pink can be lost in a lot of different ways 100%. And it can be brought back the same way too.
Yeah. Like I can even look back at different seasons in my own life. Yeah. And things that you don't even really want to talk about. And you're like, like I definitely lost my pink in that season, but the Lord is so faithful to carry you through.
Yeah.
He's so faithful. He's so faithful. Even when, like, I feel like too with motherhood, like you have this amazing gift in front of you, but there's some seasons where it's like, it doesn't feel like there's a gift that you're given and your pink is just gone. Yeah. Like, you know, and so that's really hard too, but the Lord is so faithful in all of it. That's so good.
Yeah. Amen.
Amen. Is there any other mom things you want to talk about? Or I feel like this is such a good mom chat.
I know. That was so fun.
I love it. Oh, Jewell, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Talking about all new. Oh, I keep hitting my mic. I'm so sorry for that audio.
That mic is about to hit the floor.
It's really about to hit the floor. Yeah, thank you. Also, she brought me a little treat. So if you're also drinking iced coffee.
Okay, you know what? Let's talk about this for a hot second before we go. I ordered 2 of the exact same drink. Okay, Dunkin has this like.
Do you have yours right now?
I do.
Okay, we should show it.
I'm deliberately waiting to pull it out. All right, this
like,
drink. They were the exact same drink. Okay, this is what Meg's looks like. Ready?
If you're watching on YouTube, if you're not watching, you should go just click.
You should,
part.
just for like this little snippet. Okay, for this drama. Look at mine. Look, you can see it on the camera.
I'm gonna make this the YouTube cover. Like,
please do, because what is this?
At Dunkin' Donuts.
They have. I even read the little tag. They're exactly the same.
So crazy.
Why is mine milk and Meg's is coffee?
No, I don't know. This is.
It's fine. I mean, it tastes good.
No, doesn't it?
It does.
Good.
But there's definitely no coffee.
It definitely looks like. Oh, I'm just looking at this. What an amazing combination.
Yeah, it's just their almond spice.
Wow.
Latte. Yeah. But I think they left out my latte and just gave me.
Your coffee.
They did not give me any coffee. They just gave me sugar.
No, that's literally pure milk.
This is milk.
That's crazy.
This is flavored milk.
That's crazy.
This is just what we're doing today.
So nice of her. Before she came into my home, she had already drunken.
Yeah,
drunken. I feel like
I already had some.
She already took a sip from the milky one, so that
because I knew Meg was going to offer to take the milk.
Because I was like, "Give me the milk one." She was like, "I already drank from it."
Yep.
So nice, so sweet. Oh my
you
gosh.
need coffee. You have coffee.
I need it, you guys. That was sweet. So crazy too. I was telling Jewell before we were recording. I truly feel like at this point, I feel more like myself, having him wake up 5 to 6 times a night than I do having him wake up 1 to 2 times. Like, yeah. Mm-hmm. So crazy.
Yeah, like I was like pretty much exclusively pumping for the most part, and like Teddy didn't really eat overnight, but I would have to get up every 3 hours to pump for my supply, and like there's a whole there's supply science and all the, people who have babies understand that part, which is just like a whole thing in and of itself.
I did not know that thing. Yeah.
Right? But I started like skipping pumps when I was really tired and I would wake up feeling so much worse.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, what do you mean? I just got 6 straight hours. Why do I feel so bad? 100%. I should feel better.
No, this past week, it was like physically, emotionally worse. Like so crazy. Getting more sleep.
Yeah. And you're like, I guess, do I just function on 4 hours of sleep a night now?
Like,
I guess this is where we're at.
I like wake him up on purpose. So,
you're like, let's go. Good morning. It's 2 a.m.
Let me feed you, please.
Yeah. We're just going to handle this real quick.
Oh my God.
You're like, I missed you. Wake up.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, yeah. It's so crazy. Anyway, Jewell, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you
this
for
was such a treat.
me.
So fun. I love it. And thank you for this treat also.
You're welcome. I'm glad yours has coffee in it.
I'm so sorry that yours doesn't. You guys, thank you so much for listening to the She Lives Purposefully podcast. I'm so thankful for you. I hope that this was an encouragement to you and just to like a fun friend chat talking about all things motherhood, Christian living, all things Jesus. Live for purposefully. Live for Jesus. This is so maybe I don't function on no sleep. Live for Jesus and live purposefully. I love you, friends. See ya.
See ya.